It's time for some parenting advice this morning. And Nikki Bush joins us in studio to talk about the complexities of raising differently talented children. How do you do that? Well, pay attention to this.
Brace yourself for a very interesting discussion this morning. If you are a parent of more than one child, you've probably noticed that one of the unwritten laws of family life is that talent and ability are not necessarily evenly distributed between siblings. Now, to discuss this issue with us this morning, as always, we've got our creative parenting expert, Nikki Bush. Very interesting, and I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there who don't even want to broach this because it's such an uncomfortable topic, but this is our reality. And I can see it in mine, being the only male in an all-female family. I was completely different from everyone else, where my sister was amazing, I was absolutely useless. So we've learned now, in later life, to understand, where each one of us shone. But how do parents broach this? Where do we even begin this discussion?
Well, I'm going to begin the discussion by talking about the cup and teaspoon theory. Because, God's not fair. One child got 2 teaspoons of this and the other one got half a cup of this. And how does that happen? You come from the same family and you've got such different children. But therein lies something to celebrate, is our difference.
Exactly.
And we have to, as parents, see our children as individuals. They're not on a production line and they're not supposed to come out all the same. In fact, the world is celebrating difference today. So maybe this discussion it's a good one to be having now. Maybe this is the best era in which to be different from each other, because that is being celebrated. But it's tricky. If you've got one child who really is that superstar, it can be very tricky.
How much of this stems from your own perception of success and failure and what you deem to be the best traits, maybe within yourself? How much of this is coming from us and how much of it is actually in the child? Children, yes, one might be brilliant at maths and the other, where do we draw that line? When do we know as a parent that we might be transferring some of that from ourselves?
Well, in a way, your expectation of your child, and sometimes children take time to mature. Each child is on a different timeline, and child development has this sort of miraculous developmental timetable of its own. And I think it's about having the wisdom to acknowledge where each child is at, because some children, I won't say are slow learners, but they just take a lot longer to come into their own. Like, you can have a child who's quite shy in their early years, who lands up being the life and soul of the party later on. And to judge them, box them, label and categorize them too early can be detrimental to their future development. But I think what we're also talking about here is that in one family, say, of 3 children, it's likely that one child is going to be the superstar and get all the accolades and all the prizes. I mean, I know children whose parents have to bring a trailer to school at award ceremonies evenings because they walk away with everything, And I think it's quite hard living in the shadow of a superstar sibling.
And I think a lot of it stems from, that child's individual journey and how you then foster a sense of growth or a desire to grow and develop in light of all of that. And we're going to delve into that a little bit later. Maybe you've got some interesting thoughts on the subject matter. You can, of course, post your comments on our social media pages. Are you dealing with a bit of an uneven distribution of talent within your family, or is it all a perception? You can let us know on our social media platforms.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
We are continuing our discussion with our creative parenting expert, Nikki Bush, offering parents who have more than one child and possibly an uneven distribution of talent amongst those children, some advice on how they can foster a sense of growth in all of their children. And we know that children develop and come into their own, as you beautifully put it earlier, at very different stages in life. Why is it so important to develop that sense of persistence? For some, it might come easy and naturally. For others, not necessarily, especially when living under the shadow of a child that just everything seems to come to them, be gifted to them on a silver platter. Why is it so important to get that sense of achievement, but that persistence to want to achieve as well?
So what did Gary Player say? The more I practice, the luckier I get. And, it's so true. If we keep going at something, we generally get better at it. But, there's another thing to consider here, Graham. A lot of children who are these superstars are often superstars in mainstream activities. If you have a child who doesn't excel in mainstream stuff, there's so much on offer today that you can help them to find a niche where they might be able to succeed better than if you put them in with 100 kids who all, you know, competing for the same thing. And I've watched parents make very conscious decisions to take a non-mainstream child and put them into activities like rhythmic gymnastics or biathlons, where there is a much smaller pool, and that child will have A, less competition, but B, it might be playing to their strengths, which may not be mainstream. And it's not a bad idea to think outside of the box. Find something that your child will enjoy and that will boost their self-confidence. It's not to say they won't have to work hard at it, but that persistence, whether you're good at something or not good at it, practice does make perfect. And we also need to make sure that we encourage and praise effort, not just the outcome. For some children, it could take 2 terms to make it to the C cricket team.
Yeah.
Where other children just walk straight into the A team. So we've got to encourage, like at the dinner table at night time, we have a family celebration plate. And that is eaten off by the person whom we are celebrating. And it might not be because you made the A team. It might be because of your persistence in pushing on and pushing through all the obstacles. Even if you make the C team, that is still for that child an achievement. But we are celebrating that persistence, the fact that you kept going regardless of those obstacles.
There is a natural part of me, a part that has been developed through my own growth path society that is finding it very difficult to break free of that kind of image that we all have of what is successful, what is cool, what is awesome for a child. And it's very difficult as grown-ups to not judge. How do we avoid comparing our children? How do we break free of that as parents?
It's quite difficult, especially when you have one superstar sibling, to not put that sibling on a pedestal. And a lot of your time and effort when you have a child who's very good at something and is playing national, district, area, whatever, takes a lot of the family effort, time and resources to keep that child in that level of success. And while we're doing that, we're dragging the other children along with us, and we need to make sure that we fill their emotional cups, that we still play with them, that we still give them all the nurturing and the stroke and the attention that they need. And, you know, the child being the superstar actually was born like that a lot of the time. It's not their fault that they're so good at everything. So it's just about making sure that we make sure that we keep stroking all of our children, and that even the child who's doing well, that we acknowledge their perseverance, the fact that they're prepared to put in extra time, because it's often that child is often the one who stays 5 minutes extra on the hockey field and claps 10 more balls into the net. And that's
is doing
what
a different
makes
sports,
them good.
you know, 5-6 days of the week.
So,
And, you know,
yeah, acknowledging the who, acknowledging the character traits that go to contribute to success, and also remembering that most of us were late bloomers.
Yeah.
And that's also okay.
Oh, it really is okay. I know we are all trying to navigate these tricky waters, but I think it starts within yourself. Don't be as judgmental, and start fostering that love of achievement, and look at your child as an individual, not compared to your other children, and you will discover amazing things about them and, I suppose, about yourself. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thanks. Next.